It's time for our cash tag segment. For that, let's bring in Andy Swan. He's a co-founder at Likefolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Thank you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday for every Meta investor over the last year and a half because the stock has exploded. It seems like that year of efficiency worked out for them, Andy, as they cut jobs, tightened up spending, but continue to grow revenue. What kind of data do you guys have on Meta? Is it equivalent to this massive rally we've seen?
Yeah, it really is. I think Meta, absolutely an execution machine. This is one of those companies that just every time we kind of dismiss them or think that they're on the wrong path, a lot like what you guys were saying about Apple earlier when you're talking about, the switch from EVs to AI, it feels like Meta was a little bit late or a little bit, it maybe even too far ahead of the game to call themselves Meta, but that kind of marked the bottom, I think. And ever since then, it's been nothing but up. And where that growth is coming from, we feel like, based on Likefolio data, is really the adoption of Reels. This is a very, very popular product. People love this. It's Meta's answer to TikTok, and it seems to be doing very, very well. If we look at the year-over-year change in mentions, so people talking about using these products, you can see just a massive advantage in terms of growth for Reels over every other competitor out there, and I think that's a massive kudos to Meta on that front, because it is the most popular style of communicating or disseminating information right now is that TikTok style short video. Entertain me for 15 seconds and keep my algorithm full of entertaining 15 to 30 second clips, and you've kind of got me. And I think that's where Meta focused its efforts and really did a great job. Then the other thing that really kind of surprised us, that didn't really surprise us. We thought Reels was doing very well. Our data corroborated that. But what really surprised us was over the last few months, looking at Apple's release of the Apple Vision Pro, the $3,500 VR AR goggles that are very technologically advanced but seem to have very few use cases. That actually turned out to be in Meta's benefit. Their headset, Quest headset, doing extremely well on the heels of the Apple Vision Pro release. It's like what Apple Vision Pro was bring more consumer attention to headsets, back to AR, back to VR. We'd kind of all forgotten about that until Apple Vision Pro came along. And then what people found was, well, the Facebook version, the Meta version has more use cases and is much cheaper. And so we started to see a pretty nice uptrend start in Meta's Quest Vision goggles. And that surprised us quite a bit. And so it's one of those things where we think, Apple seems to be dropping the ball a lot of places. And certainly Meta is there to pick things up when others fail, and seems to be doing that right now.
There's so many good things to talk about here, Andy. When you look at the fact that the year of efficiency, how they cut costs, right? Yeah. $132 billion in revenue. What no one said, what no one's talking about is they boosted the volume of ads being shown without really affecting any usership, right? They were able to add more. And when you can target, 3 billion people a day looking at either Instagram or Facebook. And I think slowly but surely Instagram is becoming the most popular of their programs. So this is a company, other than the valuation, right? This year of efficiency, what they've done, they've cut costs, they've increased all the other things, and then ad spending has come back. They should write a master's thesis on the title being the year of efficiency, Andy.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable what they were able to achieve. It's kind of like when Elon Musk bought Twitter and cut 80% of the staff, and the user experience seemed to get better. At some point you have to wonder what all of these people, what all of this headcount is doing, and I think that will have reverberations throughout the technology industry in general over the next year or two. When companies look at what Twitter or X and Facebook have been able to achieve, better customer experience, more ads being shown, more ad dollars, and successful product launches with less people on staff, that's a wake-up call, I think, across the industry. And it's really, kind of reaffirms our view that you have to bet on the best operators, and Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to think about Zuckerberg, whatever you could say the same thing about Musk. These guys know how to operate and how to execute at an extremely high level. That's how they got where they are. And so it's not that big of a surprise that the company was able to, achieve such growth, such good things while simultaneously slashing costs. It's just kind of what these companies have in their DNA. Some companies have it, some don't. And I think Meta has proven that it absolutely does have that in its DNA.
Andy, one of the things I get concerned about when I see massive rallies like that is, they've got a lot of the data to back up as far as earnings goes, growth, creating that efficiency, cost cutting, but that eventually runs out at some point. When I look at your mentions chart, you've got year over year up 13%, but now we've got that stock moving ahead of that blue line. Is that maybe a signal that maybe some consolidation's needed?
Yeah, I think a pause is probably in order. You could say that about a lot of the technology space. I feel
Yes.
like, especially that Magnificent 6 or 7, it just feels like, the healthiest thing that could happen for the market right now would be a little bit of sideways action, if not a slight retreat, and get some of the momentum money out of these names and get it back to kind of that value fundamental investor space. And I think that's a very real possibility. But long term, what Meta has proven is that it can adapt to compete with new entrants into the space. TikTok was a giant that came from out of nowhere, and Meta responded really very quickly. I feel like if you think about the usership that they have, it's not easy to roll something out that everybody loves, which they did with Instagram and Reels. And they're able to compete and actually benefit from the competitive advances of massive established companies like Apple. So they roll out Apple Vision Pro, and the biggest beneficiary of that turns out most likely to be Meta. That's not something that we would have thought possible 4 or 5 years ago. We were always worried about, is Meta a feature or is it a company? It turns out that Meta is a very, very good company that makes great features and knows how to monetize them.
Yep, free cash flow increasing, margins increasing, costs going down, growing expenses by about 10%. So that's a good mix.
Think about this,
Yeah,
guys.
it's a good mix.
Where would Snap be right now if Meta didn't come out with Reels? Reels crushed Snap.
Yes.
Yeah, Snap's never been able to monetize what their user base is, which is over 400 million, I believe, something like that. All right, great stuff, great data as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that's Andy Swan, co-founder at Likefolio, breaking down Meta for us and the data.